Now that you have n8n up and running either in cloud or on your local machine as a container or a local copy, we are ready to open it up and deep dive or look at what all options are available on the interface. So I'll open up my screen and let's deep dive into the interface of n8n. So this is the n8n interface, and as I told you previously in the lesson that I'm going to use my cloud version. So I'm right now in my cloud version or cloud workspace of n8n, and on the first tab that you see is overview. That is where you will land up as soon as you log in, and that's what we saw as soon as we installed the local version of n8n. However, in the fresh installation there was nothing over there. Here you can see a lot of workflows that are there on my cloud version. You can see the credentials over here, you can see executions. We'll come to each and every tab, what these are, why they are needed, but for now just consider this as everything that you have in your n8n workspace can be browsed through this overview tab. You can click on this create workflow or the arrow over here, which will let you create a new credential that can be used throughout the workspace that is there. However, as you can see, there is a lot of information over here, so there is a way to organize it, which is by projects. As I'm on a starter plan, if you click on this plus button, you can see I'm only able to create one project over here, and if I have to create more projects, I have to unlock the or upgrade my plan to pro plan or other plans which are available over there, and we're going to talk about these plans as well. However, over here I have only two projects. One is the personal workspace that you can see, other one is inspirations. In the inspirations, I try to keep whatever I get inspired from. It could be a template which is there in the public library, it could be a paid template, it could be some YouTube tutorial which I am watching and I see that this is something that I can build upon or reference it in one of my automations. So I keep all those over there in the inspiration sections. In the personal project, you can see that there are different folders. So I keep good references over here. I keep all my work in progress workflows in my WIP folder. Then I have live automation, 2 workflows are over there. And then this course where, I have all the workflows that would get created. I have created a folder called n8n course, and I'm going to create all the workflows inside this. If I click on it, there is lesson 0 and lesson 4 as of now, but I can go back and you can see that there is a workflow right in the personal workspace as well, just to show you that you just don't need to create folders. You can create the workflows directly into the project as well. Folder is another way to manage or organize everything that is there in terms of automation workflows that you build in your entire workspace. And I'm going to keep following this order to explain the interface. Now you have understood the project. What we can do is we can click on this admin panel. As soon as I click on it, you can see that it opened me something called dashboard, which is showing me workspace and a link to forums. It is telling me that in whole April month, I have 0 executions so far. And these executions are for the active workflow that you activate, and we'll come to it. What do you mean by activation of it? However, right now I don't have any active workflow executed out of my quota. If I need more execution, I need to upgrade my plan from here. You can see I can click on this open button. It will open up the workspace again. It is telling me that my workspace is currently online and it is telling me the version on which it is running. If I click on this gear icon over here, I can go to the workspace settings, and you can see that right now I am on the starter plan and I am using the stable version of n8n. If I have to change the version, I can click on this. This is the beta version. I don't want to go over there. And as I explained, when you're using the local copy of it, you can use the @next notation in order to install the latest beta version onto your local machine. Right now I'm on the stable version. This is the time zone, which is very important aspect. You need to have time zones set to wherever you are residing, wherever you want your workflows which are active in nature to act upon, because the triggers and all will act upon the time zone that you have over here. This is shared across your workspace. Otherwise, you need to override this setting into your workflow setting. So I can save the changes over here. I can cancel my plan or I can change my plan. At the bottom, you can see workspace status, which is like currently online. And over here, I can restart my workspace. And you might be thinking, why do I need to restart? Because it is being managed on cloud by the n8n. It can happen that you might run an infinite loop in your workflow. Maybe like while true, you set it out and the workspace has become unresponsive. So this is more like rebooting your phone or rebooting your instance so that it kills that work that workflow is doing in infinite loop and get back control of your workspace. That's where it could be possible that you might have to come over here and restart your workspace if it does not come back online after a while. So this was all about the workspace settings. Over here in the billing section, you can see all your transaction history and your payment method. I'll go back over here and I'll show you some of the plans. If I click on this change plan, it will take me to the 3 plan options that are available. In fact, there are more than 3 plan options. I'm on the starter plan, which is $24 a month. If I want to pay annually, then I get 20% off. So the plan ends up being $20 a month. In this plan, starter plan, I get 2,500 workflow executions. Then unlimited steps are there, and as I told you in the last section of this course, that everything or you are charged in n8n based on workflow, number of workflow execution, not on the steps. So unlimited steps or unlimited tasks you can perform within the workflow, but the entire workflow, be it complex or be it simple, is going to charge for one execution. So 2,500 workflow execution is costing me $20 if I pay on annually. If I don't pay annually, monthly, then it is going to charge me $24. Then we have one shared project, unlimited users, forum support, and 1-day workflow history. Again, just for simplicity, I'll switch back to monthly plans. So you can see that if you are paying monthly, you will pay $60 for a pro plan, which gives you 10,000 workflow executions and 15 active workflows. We'll come to it. What do you mean by active workflow? Then there are 3 shared projects, admin roles are there, global variables is what you can set over here, which can be used across your workflows. Then we have 5-day workflow history and execution search. So whatever workflow you are executing, you can search on top of it by keywords or some text around it. However, you can see there are multiple plans in Pro 1. You can get 10,000 execution, 15 active workflows, it's $60. But if you raise the price to $144, you can get 50,000 execution and 50 active workflows, much suited for larger organization. And then there are custom Pro plans available as well if you really want to take it to the next level, or if you are a large company executing large number of automations over there. Finally, there is an enterprise version as well, which is custom in nature. You need to contact the sales team in order to set this up. It has everything included from the pro plan, and then a lot of different features are there. As you can see, unlimited shared projects, SSO, SAML, LDAP connectivities. There are different environments you can choose. You can have a development environment, you can have a QA environment, you can have a production environment. So these are some of the plans that are available. Now we'll go back onto our workspace and start seeing what are other options available. So this was all about the admin or the dashboard part of it. Again, I'll go back and open up my workspace, and we went to this screen by using the admin panel so that we can configure the admin part of it. You can click on this button and it will take you to lot of workflow templates. You can see 1588 workflow templates are already available that you can use. You can filter by different domains which are there. If I click on any of these are all the samples. Like for example, working with date times. If I click on this one, you would see that it is going to show me a picture of it, what this workflow looks like. You can inspect it, what it says. You can zoom in a bit. You can read about what this workflow does. If it suits your needs, you can click on use for free, and you would see that there is these options which are available. So what you can do is you can either directly import. So this import to my GenAI Unplugged Cloud Workspace, it is going to copy it directly over there if I click this option. Or what it can do is it can copy the template to JSON, and I can install or save it as a JSON file, import it into my local version of n8n. So that's how you copy or you import a template which is already there. But if I'm using cloud, I'll just click on import to my cloud workspace, and you can see that it has automatically imported into my cloud version of my workspace. So over here, if I click on save, so this was titled working with dates and times. If I go to my personal workspace, you can see at the bottom working with dates and times are available. So that's how you can import any templates which is made available to you in the templates library on the official website of n8n. Now next option is variable. So this is available on the pro plan, and where variables help you is that you can create some of the variables that you want to use certain values across all your workflows. You can create global variables over here so that it can be used, or these variables can be used across all the workflows, not just one workflow but all the workflows. As of now, because we are on the starter plan, we can only use variables inside our workflow, inside one workflow. Whatever variable you create inside a single workflow cannot be shared across workflow. So this option lets us do that. If you really need it, opt for it, otherwise you don't need it. Then you have help center over here, and finally at the bottom I have my name over here, and I can click on settings. It would open up some of the personal settings over here. You can see my basic information is there. I can enable a two-factor authentication as well. I can change my password from it. You can see that I can add users. Again, in order to unlock the ability to add admin users, I have to be on an upgraded pro plan. Right now I am on a starter plan, so I cannot add admin user. However, I can add regular users to it and share the project with them so that they can collaborate over here as well. Then we have n8n API. I can create an API key so that I can automate my automations. What that means is that I can access the n8n interface. I can execute any kind of workflow, activate it through a programmatic API or through a different app. Maybe I have an other external app where I want to integrate or kickstart my workflows. That's how we can get the programmatic access of our n8n workspace. So you need to create an API key from here. Then we have external secrets. Again, it is available on the enterprise plan. Environments, again available on the enterprise plan. SSO, LDAP, and log streaming, all three options are available on the enterprise plan. So if you are on the enterprise plan, you can access these options. Otherwise, let's just go back and see what else is there in the n8n interface. So I have covered everything which is there on this section of the interface. There is a single arrow over here. I can click on it to get more real estate, more screen area over here. So you have more space to work upon. Now that we know what the interface or workspace looks like, what options are there, let's go ahead and click on this create workflow button. So I'll click on this create workflow. This is going to open up a canvas. So you can see that this is called canvas where we are going to build the workflow. As you can see, this is a plus button where it is required. If I click on it, it will help me open up a panel where I need to specify a node, which is a trigger type of node that is going to activate this workflow, and I'll come to that section in a bit. However, let's explore other options which are there. Over here at the top, you can see I can basically rename it. I can say this is my first workflow. You can name it any way you want. Then you can have an ability to add tags. You can manage tags first of all. And first of all, I need to create a tag. So I can create, say, production, let's suppose, or I'll just say testing. So I'll create a tag and then it says done. So it will allow me now to add testing tag over here. So I can add tags to my workflow so that I can filter them easily. I can better organize them. Folders are already there. Here, this something called inactive active. I'll come back to it. I can share this. Right? I can share with other users that I have added into my workspace. Again, admin users I cannot add, but however, other users that I have invited into my workspace, I can share this workflow with them as well. Here it is currently saying saved, as we have nothing over here. Nothing is there to save. Once we have something over here, it will turn into a button which we have to keep on clicking in order to save our progress. Then you can see there is workflow history. If I click on it, there it opens up a workflow history tab over here. Right now there is no workflow history for this particular workflow, so nothing is there to be shown. I'll show you once we have executed something, we'll cover that. Here, like I said, you can click on this plus button or you can click on this plus button to add your first node or first step. Steps in this workflow in n8n are called nodes. We have already gone through it. We are going to go deeper into what nodes are, how they are configured, what types are there later in this section. But we are covering right now all the parts of the interface of n8n. So I'll just skip for now. You can click on the executions again from here and it will show the executions here as well. Again, there is nothing executed, so nothing was being shown over here. I'll come back to it later on. Here you can see there is zoom in, zoom out. You can just reset the zoom level. You can basically use this one to tidy up, like it will reformat howsoever you have configured your nodes in the entire canvas. It will tidy it up. Or this option is used zoom to fit. So if your workflow is like very big, large workflow, then it is going to fit to a zoom level that you can see the entire workflow in one step. What we are going to do now is just add first step. As it is saying, it is going to open up this particular panel, which is going to allow us to add one of the nodes. So I'm going to use this trigger manually, but as you can see, there are other triggers as well on app event, on a schedule, on webhook, on form submission. All these types of triggers we are going to use throughout this course, and we are going to use them, and I'm going to explain it to them so that you are familiar with all the types of triggers which are there. But for now, we'll just use a manual trigger. And as you can see, the save button is now enabled, and I have a button called test workflow which allows me to test it. If I click on it, it is going to execute and it says one item is there. And now if I go on to the executions, it is going to tell me that it was executed. What happened in that execution was, when clicking, a test workflow got executed. If there are more nodes, it is going to show the output of it. That's how we are going to get back to the execution to see what exactly happened and maybe troubleshoot errors or something else as well. But for now, let's just stop over here and go back to our editor. Now you can see that I have save button enabled, so I need to click on this save button, otherwise I'll lose my progress. So that's how I need to click on this save button so that I save my progress. Now if I go back to my personal workspace, you can see that this is my first workflow is over here. It has a tag called testing, which I can use to filter other workflows which are there in my workspace with the same tag. If I click on it, because we saved the progress, it is basically showing me the node that I have added. I skipped one thing which is called active or inactive. What does this mean? Activation of workflow. Well, activation of workflow is required when you want to run your workflow in a production mode. If you want your workflow to keep on monitoring some external event or schedule it based on a particular scheduled time, maybe like every 7 a.m. on a Sunday, then you have to activate your workflow so that those triggers can happen and the workflow can wake up and execute the process. So if I click on it, right now it is inactive. I have to have a particular trigger node. As you can see there, the workflow has no trigger nodes that require activation because I have a manual trigger node over here. That's why it is not allowing me. But if I go back, let's suppose, I have a couple of live. So first one is like new video announcement. As soon as a video is live on my YouTube channel, what it does is it runs on a particular schedule every day and sees if there is a new video posted on my channel. If yes, it is going to make an announcement on different social media platforms and maybe even on my blog as well. So because it is running on a scheduled trigger, it has the active button enabled so that I can activate it, and it is now running in my workspace instance. Every time that schedule gets triggered, the workflow executes and posts the new announcement of a newly published video on my channel to all my social media platforms. So that's the concept of making your workflow live in production environment. And as you can see, I'm on a starter plan, so I can only make 5 workflows live at a time. Rest, either I have to upgrade my plan or I have to use them or import them onto my local instance or a public cloud server where I can set them up if I don't have to pay more fees to n8n platform. As we are talking about the organization, you can create these folders by clicking on this button called create folder. If I click on it, it will help me create a test folder, let's suppose. Right, so if I click on it, so basically it has now created a test folder where I can create workflows inside the test folders. Like I can create workflow now in the test folder, or I can even move workflows which are already there. For example, this workflow is there, I want to move it. So I'll select different options. I can open it, I can share it, I can duplicate it, I can move to a folder, I can change owner, I can delete it. So I'll just click on move folder, and you can see that I will be able to search test here. And yes, it is coming, and I'll click on move folder. It has moved my workflow into this test folder. So even though you can perform some of these options like open, share, duplicate, move to folder, change owner, delete over here, there are few more options which are available at the workflow level. Let's explore them as well and close this lesson. Over here, as I have opened up one of the workflows, you can see that these 3 ellipses are there. You can see duplicate option was also available on the previous screen. Then download was also available. Delete was also available. However, there are 3 more options which are available over here. Import from a URL. If I click on it, I can specify a workflow URL and import it directly over here. So if your workflow is published on a public URL, you can use an import URL method or mechanism in order to import a workflow. Then what we have is import from a file. I click on it. I can have a JSON file. I can basically export. For example, if I click on this, let's suppose I add something, or let's suppose I delete this, right? So I delete it, I save it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first download it. So it has downloaded as a JSON file, you can see in my folder. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically go and I'm going to say import from a file. So I click on it. It says import from file. I have this working with dates and times.json. I click on it. So you can see that it has imported the entire workflow into this workflow which I had opened it up. So I should have ideally started with the blank workflow and imported this version. However, if you want to import some of the nodes from other workflows which you might have found available elsewhere on the internet or on public repository, you can use this option to import some of those nodes or the entire workflow, and then disconnect different nodes, use the nodes as to your liking. So that's how these options work. And the final option is the settings. If you click on it, you can see the execution order you can change. You can specify an error workflow. Right now there is no error workflow. We're going to talk about in detail what error workflows are, how you can utilize them, how you can configure them. But for now, let's just skip it. This workflow can be called by, so basically it says workflow created by me only. It cannot be called by any workflow. I can set it to it cannot be called by other workflows. And again, we are going to come to it that why I would like to call a workflow from another workflow, right? Then we have a time zone as well. And as I told you earlier in this lesson, that in the entire workspace, there is a time zone which is imported or inherited by all the workflows which are there in the entire workspace. So if you want to override the timing of your particular workflow, for example, this workflow should run in India or should run in Australia, then you can configure the time zone based on that, and your workspace time zone can still remain to New York time zone. And then you have some other options like save failed production execution, save successful production execution. You want to save both of them. You don't want to save the successful one, you can just skip it, that don't save it. You can just save the ones which are failed so that you can basically troubleshoot them, debug them. Or you can also say that you want to save the manual execution. Manual executions are the ones that we are going in. It is not an active one. We are clicking on test workflow. It is going to basically manually execute it. Those workflow executions are also being saved with this setting. So you save execution progress, that we have do not save. Finally, timeout workflow, it is set to false. You can basically set it to true so that your workflow can time out, and in case there is a problem, the workflow is stuck, it has gone into an infinite loop, this timeout workflow will help without restarting the entire workspace. So this is an interesting setting where you can start tracking how much time a particular workspace is saving in your business processes, and then it gets collated onto a dashboard that you can view and realize and show it to other peers or your customers or your clients or your stakeholders, sponsors, leaders, bosses, that you have saved so much time using these workflows. This is like subjective figure you need to calculate and put into place. Finally, there is the save button. If I make any changes, I'm going to keep it as is, the default version of it. I'm not going to save it. I'm going to just click on this cross button and cancel it. So this was all about the entire interface, what all options are available to you in the n8n interface, what you can do, how you can organize your workflows, how you can create them. So that's what I wanted to cover in this lesson.